Coming up on the Forties Formula.
Our hormones go beyond reproduction. They protect our heart, they protect our bones, our cognition, our brain health, and our metabolic health. And so when they decline, we see other consequences, and often they're silent. Women are twice as likely as men to get Alzheimer's dementia, and their lifetime risk of dementia is much greater than men. There's a risk of 20% mortality within a year of having an osteoporotic fracture.
You think of menopause and you think, right, I'm getting old, I'm going to stop my period, I'm going to get fat, and then that's it,
Yes.
end of.
Yes.
But there's so much more stuff that is actually a hell of a lot more serious.
More important. What is the one tip for women for how to approach movement in their 40s?
If there's just one thing, I would say it's
BMI as a reliable indicator of my health. Hot or hype?
It is a hype, big time. It does not reflect your lean body masses, what your fat mass is. We should be doing body composition.
Dr. SUNDUS HUSSAIN-MORGAN is a physician and lifestyle medicine advocate who believes prevention is the most powerful medicine we have. She uses the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine, from food and movement to sleep, stress, and connection, to help women reduce risk and build resilience for decades to come.
The Forties Formula. The Forties Formula.
The Forties Formula. Hosted by Jasmin Dhillon, integrated health strategist specializing in gut health, hormones, and midlife well-being.
And Amanda Lim, director of Lift Clinic and a leading expert in female strength and metabolism.
Named one of CNA's top podcasts and winner of the 2025 Asia Podcast Awards in the Best Health and Wellness Podcast category.
The Forties Formula is your no fluff, science meets real life guide to thriving in your 40s.
Menopause isn't just about hot flashes and mood swings. It's the moment when your risk for heart disease, osteoporosis, diabetes, even dementia begins to rise. But here's the good news. What you do now in your 40s can radically change the trajectory of your health. In this episode, we're breaking down exactly what you can do now to protect your future health. Let's get into it.
But before we do, don't forget to like and subscribe and share this with a loved one, especially someone who needs to hear this today.
Dr. SUNDUS, thank you so much for being with us today. We're so excited for this conversation.
Thank you for having me, Amanda and Jasmin. Really, thank you. So I am so encouraged that there's so much awareness about menopause and that women are getting the help they need to manage the symptoms and their quality of life. But one thing we're not telling women enough about is the long-term health risks of menopause. Menopause comes with certain risks. Our hormones go beyond reproduction. They protect our heart, they protect our bones, our cognition, our brain health, and our metabolic health. And so when they decline, we see other consequences, and often they're silent. Women aren't aware of them until it's unfortunately too late or it's picked up on a blood test. And what I'm here to say is to look at your health risks, get tested for it, and become aware of them. So what are they? Cardiovascularly, our heart health. We know that cardiovascular disease is the #1 cause of death in women after menopause. Our blood pressure rises, cholesterol goes up, there's more inflammation, and that puts women at risk. Bone health, we lose 10-20% of our bone mass during the menopause transition, and that puts us at risk of osteopenia or a more serious condition called osteoporosis. The risks of fractures in your wrist, in your spine, in your hips increases, and that has, dire consequences. Then we've got the metabolic health. We see a change in body composition together with muscle mass loss as we age and increased visceral fat, so that fat around the midsection. There's insulin resistance, which if left unchecked can become diabetes. And then brain health, women are twice as likely as men to get Alzheimer's dementia, and their lifetime risk of dementia is much greater than men. But the thing is, these things are preventable. There are things we can do today, if we're aware of it, to prevent these, to treat these, to reduce the risk and live, a long, healthy life. Women live a third of their life in menopause. We want those years to be healthy and in good health.
Yes.
It's crazy, isn't it? Because I feel like you think of menopause and you think, right, I'm getting old. I'm going to stop my period. I'm going to get fat. And then that's it.
Yes.
End of.
Yes.
But there's so much more stuff that is actually a hell of a lot more serious.
More important. Much
And,
more important.
and these are the things we need to be thinking about.
Yes.
So what should we do?
Well, what I like to use is the pillars of health, so lifestyle medicine, the 6 pillars of health. And lifestyle medicine is an evidence-based medical discipline that looks at lifestyle interventions and behavior change so that we can treat, prevent, and even reverse disease. The 6 pillars are nutrition, physical activity, sleep, stress management and mental health, social connections, and reducing harmful substances. So together with other medical modalities and using lifestyle interventions, we can really help minimize those risks and even manage menopause symptoms.
Yeah. And let's talk about those one by one, if you don't mind, because I think that's such a helpful framework. Anyone can understand what those 6 words mean: nutrition, movement, sleep, stress management, social connection, and the reducing of risky substances, which I know is always the one that goes last, right? It's like, want. No one wants to hear about it. But can we unpack the first 2? And they're not hierarchical, right? But can we unpack the ones that I think are the first that we think about when we think about taking control of our health? And that's nutrition and movement. What are the big points in nutrition and movement that you want women to understand about health in their 40s?
So these 6 pillars do work synergistically, but let's look at those 2 first of all. So nutrition's a big one. There's so much to unpack about nutrition. There's so many stories we've heard about nutrition, a lot of myths and misinformation. But with lifestyle medicine, what we believe in is a whole food, a diet that is predominantly plant-based, low in ultra-processed foods, refined sugars and carbs. Is there a special menopause diet? Not really. There are certain foods that I do encourage my patients to make sure they have in their diet.
Ooh, like what? Give us some hot foods.
So looking first of all, for your bone health, for example, we want to be having enough calcium in our diet and vitamin D, although mostly we get our vitamin D from sunlight, but there is some in food, but calcium particularly, and it doesn't have to be from dairy products.
Oh man, I was going to be like, right, so that daily flat white that every day.
It's for my bone health.
This is why I'm doing it for my health.
So calcium and vitamin D. Next, I like to look at fiber. Fiber is so important, as you know, Jasmin. Gut health is good health. We're feeding not just ourselves, we're feeding those trillions of microorganisms in our gut that help us keep our health in check. So fiber comes from plant-based foods. So that could be vegetables, fruits, nuts, seeds, herbs, beans, legumes. So including that in your diet. And most of us are not getting enough fiber in our diet. Then there's the protein. So we want to be looking at a protein that's either meat or animal based, animal or plant based. So lean cuts of meat, chicken. We want to be looking at fish. We want to be looking at legumes, tofu, tempeh, and particularly tofu, tempeh, edamame. These have phytoestrogens in them, and these help stimulate some of the estrogen receptors to modulate the menopause symptoms in some women. Flax seeds is another one as well.
Yeah. And can you talk about phytoestrogens for women in menopause and perimenopause and moving through the menopause transition? Because I just had a client come in 2 days ago, confused about the inclusion of phytoestrogens in the diet. She said that her doctor said they are bad for menopause. Could you elaborate a bit more on that?
Right. So there is this misconception that phytoestrogens, because they stimulate estrogen receptors, that they may have a harmful effect. There's still, unfortunately, a lot of myth about stimulating estrogen receptors in terms of breast cancer risk, cardiovascular risk, and so forth. But phytoestrogens stimulate a different type of receptor. The beta, there are 2 types of estrogen receptor, and they stimulate the beta receptors. And by doing so, they can help modulate the symptoms without causing that increased risk. And what are phytoestrogens? These include tofu, tempeh, soy, so anything from soy-based products, but you can also find them in other plant-based products like flax seeds, for example. And so including these has been shown, studies have shown that for some women can really help, particularly with hot flushes, night sweats, and can minimize their symptoms.
What about if a woman is on HRT and then she is also eating a lot of phytoestrogen type food, soy-based food? Can there be maybe, I don't know, an overproduction of estrogen? And is there any risk if that happens? Like, what could a woman expect to feel, or, what would happen in that situation?
It's a great question. I must say I'm not aware of any study that shows that, you can overconsume these foods or that it would overstimulate them. I think, our body is complex, but it's also quite smart as well. I think it knows when you don't need certain foods, or receptors may not be necessarily upregulated if you eat more of these foods. So I can't give you a precise answer, but I will go back and look at that.
Yeah, no, I was just wondering because, it's kind of like we understand if you aren't taking it and it can help with, the hot flushes. But if you are taking it, does it have the same effect? But, that's just something that was popped into my head and I thought I'd ask.
Oh, very good question.
Yeah. And that actually reads really well into one of our tastiest features here on the show, which is called Fuel Your 40s, sponsored by the Meat Club. And they've submitted a question for you to answer as an expert in this field about how food fuels your life and your work. And this one is for you. So thinking about your work with family medicine and your work with families in general and your own family, protein feels like such a big demand, right? Like, you mentioned that you want to have a diverse protein and you want to have fiber and some different types of foods on the plate. What is one tip that you can give to families for preparing a balanced meal that everyone can enjoy?
So protein definitely is important, even for young children, adolescents, and of course, women going through hormonal changes. I would say include a variety of proteins. And the earlier you can include these in a child's diet, particularly, the more they get used to it. Try throwing in some lentils into a pasta sauce. Try fish as nuggets, or, maybe as goujons, something that they enjoy, something that's easy to dip. Use yogurt as a dipping sauce for vegetables or fruits. Even chickpeas, boil chickpeas, sprinkle some or squeeze some lemon on it, use that as a snack, add it in here and there, and try a variety of different proteins.
Yeah, I know that works in my family. Like, it's almost like they get bored of stuff. It's not that they don't like it, it's that they don't want to see it again. Yeah. So I think that's a very helpful tip for families.
Novelty and curiosity.
And it's such an easy way then to get that variety in, because if your microbiome needs diversity, whether it's coming from, plant-based, animal-based, whatever it is, the best way to do it is just changing it up and not having the same thing day in, day out. Because once that sort of, fatigue kicks in, like diet fatigue kicks in, you're going to be like, all right, okay, I'm just going to have pizza.
Yeah, because I don't want to look at this again.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah. And so we've covered a little bit about the nutrition piece, right? Yes. I would love to talk about the movement piece. So what is the one tip, the main tip you can give for women for how to approach movement in their 40s?
If there's just one thing I would say.
If there was one thing. But I'll let you say other things. But for now, just one thing.
I would say it's strength training.
Yes.
Strength training, and again, strength training. Not enough women are doing that. It's not something that women, certainly of my age, have grown up with. We're not familiar with it. And we'd walk into the gym and go straight for the cardiovascular machines and the aerobic classes and
Zumba.
Yeah, Zumba.
Which is still wonderful. And if you love it, please continue to do that.
It's better
in the category cardio, it is great.
Yeah.
In the category cardio.
Exactly. But when we're in our 40s, as we age, we begin to lose our muscle mass. We lose 3 to 8% of muscle mass every decade. And by the time you're 70, 80 years old, you've lost 30 to 50% of your muscle mass. And medicine is recognizing that muscle is more than just an organ to help us move and live independently. It's
And to look good. To get that mood right.
but aesthetic aside, muscle is actually its own endocrine organ. It helps us. It releases chemicals that are messengers to our brain that helps with blood flow in our brain, helps with cognition, memory, mood. It bolsters our mood as well. Muscle mass also helps to keep our bones healthy, and that is so important for women in their 40s. So when we strength train, when we move those muscles and load them, we also load the bones. That mechanical loading on the bones, that pulling on the bones, helps to build bone mass and counteract that menopause effect of the bone loss, and it keeps our bones strong. And there's several studies showing how incorporating strength training can actually improve osteopenia and possibly even reverse it and treat osteoporosis as well if it's done safely and supervised. And of course, metabolic health. Our muscle is the biggest organ that uses glucose and stores it. So it's like a sponge, it just soaks that up.
Yes, it does.
It increases our basic metabolic rate so that we're burning energy even when we're sitting still, and so helps lower risks of diabetes, insulin resistance, helps with and also changing that body composition that I talked about that changes in your 40s.
Yeah. And Amanda would agree with this as well. Like if you don't have enough muscle mass, you're more likely to be insulin resistant.
Yes.
And that's probably why you're struggling with your weight loss. It's not because you've got too much fat, which you might have, but it's the fact that the proportion of muscle to fat in your body is off.
That's it. And that's why what we do at Lift Clinic with metabolic health, we talk about body composition as one of our 3 markers of metabolic health. And it's not how lean you are, and it's not how muscular you are. It's the composition of those 2 things. Do you have enough muscle at an adequate level of body fat? Do you have enough leanness with enough functional muscle? Like it's the combination of those 2 things, the interplay. And under muscling is something that I see much more problematic as opposed to being over fat. But unfortunately, in the popular opinion, the over fat, the overweight is typically what people see as the problem. So, we always joke at our clinic, it's like we get them in for the weight loss, but we keep them for the muscle. It's like the bait and switch. Because I think you touched on a few really important factors that muscle is the gateway to bone. So if there is no muscle to protect your bone, then your bone is exposed and vulnerable. Absolutely. And I don't think there's enough impact there. And I really love that you mentioned strength training. So the category is physical activity. Yeah. Right, of lifestyle medicine. And of course, cardio is important. We all agree on that. But it cannot be the only thing. Mobility is important. It cannot be the only thing. There has to be that third element, which is strength training. So I love that you singled that out very specifically.
You mentioned bone. I'm a woman in my 40s. Why should I care about my bone health? I mean, like, what is it doing for me? Like, why is this important?
So bone is obviously the structure of our body. And not many people know, but our bones turn over every 12 years. They're constantly building and breaking down.
Ooh, we got like a bone zodiac every 12 years. All right.
They're living.
What bone here am I in?
They're a living organ. They're not just hard. I know we see a dog bone.
Yeah, you think that's that.
It's not. They are living organs. If you cut a bone, it bleeds.
I did not know that.
So bones are an extremely important part of our body. They don't just keep our structure upright and moving. They are actually a living organ themselves. There's bone turnover every 12 years. We turn over our bones. We build them and we break them down. And estrogen plays a really important part of this. It helps to continue that cell turnover, but in a positive way. However, when estrogen drops, what happens is there's more bone breakdown than there is bone making, and the bones become thinner. And particularly, it's the bones that we call the trabecular bones. Those are the ones in the spine, in the wrist, in the hip joint as well. And for some women, what can happen is it thins so much that even a simple trip or a little tumble is enough to fracture their bones. And once a fracture happens, it's really not just painful, but you become less mobile. The incidence of being dependent on others, ending up in nursing homes is so much higher. And there's a risk of, unfortunately, a 20% risk of mortality within a year of having an osteoporotic fracture. And this is preventable. The problem is it's a silent disease. You have no symptoms until you do.
Yes, until that fracture.
Then that's sadly too late for many.
Okay, Amanda, I've got to say, GYG has done it again. They've launched a new butter chicken filling, and it's honestly next level.
Oh my God, yes. I finally tried it last week, and it's the 3rd edition of the GYG Goes Local series. This one is my favorite yet.
It's this beautiful mashup of homely Indian comfort food with GYG's Mexican flair. We're talking rich, creamy butter chicken made with tomato, butter, kasuri methi, that's dried fenugreek leaves, and koya, which gives it that signature depth.
And they've paired it with their perfectly grilled Guerrero chicken. That's what gives it that smoky, slightly charred kind of flavor that makes it also addictive.
And here's the best bit. For the first time ever in their local series, you can actually get the butter chicken sauce on the side.
Yet another reason I love GYG so much, because you can customize your order to fit your macros.
It's rich, it's comforting, it's a total flavor bomb, and it's only here for a limited time.
So if you haven't tried it yet, get in quick. The GYG butter chicken is only available from 14th October to 23rd November. Dine in, takeaway, or order using the GYG app.
Clean food, local flair, and seriously addictive sauce. What more could we want?
Exactly. Visit GYG across their 22 island-wide locations, or follow at Gusman E. Gomez SG for all the latest. Yeah. And, you know, what you mentioned about a silent disease, right? It's one of those things where you as a woman in your 40s, me the same, you can't imagine being frail enough to fall down. It's like, it almost seems fun. Like, yeah, exactly. What do you mean I'd fall? Like, how am I going to fall? Like, you know, but you absolutely, ask anyone who's had an elderly relative that's taken a fall, and it becomes very real in that immediate moment for that person. And, that is your future, if you don't take care of it.
And I saw too many of these. I worked in the elderly care for many years, and it was almost daily we had a patient coming in with what we call a fragility fracture.
Yeah.
It was a simple tumble, and they fractured their hip or they fractured their spine.
Fragility. I hope, may that never be written on my chart.
This is the other thing, like you said, you become immobile, right? You have to rest. If you, are okay enough to rest it off, then when you become immobile, then you're going to lose that muscle mass because you can't use it. And then you're becoming, then you're going to be, having issues with your metabolic health and all the other stuff that cascades out from it.
Yes, the stuff that you didn't have previously, now you have it.
Yeah.
I can't move.
And it's scary how quickly muscle mass shrinks. I had an ACL tear after skiing injury. And, I work out, I do a lot of strength training, but the amount of muscle mass I lost within a few weeks was scary. And it really made me emphasize strength training even more to my patients. So yes, immobility is so very important.
And even if we can't sell bones, because bones are tough, like you said, it's hard to sell. Like, hey, your bones might be brittle. I don't care. Yeah, still want to be skinny, right?
Yeah, that's what they're about.
So let's take bones aside. How about brain? You mentioned cognitive decline. Can you at least sell us on how muscles can help your brain age healthier?
The other important thing about muscles is they release something called myokines. These are chemical messengers that help stimulate the brain, help improve our blood flow in our brain, help with the neurotransmitters in our brain. And this in return, improves our memory, it improves our brain function, and protects us against cognitive decline, which we know is increased in women after menopause as the hormones decline.
Yeah. I was at the gym yesterday and they've got this new machine up there. It's like only there for a week. And it was part of, I'm going to give a free shout out now. So Techno Gym, you got to support us. And it was a Techno Gym one. And they're basically looking at, how healthy are you and how you're aging. And they had different metrics. Like they had the grip strength one, which you couldn't do because they didn't have the grip strength thing. There's a cardio test you can do. Then there's a cognition test on there, like a balance and mobility. So they're checking all of this stuff. And I did the cognition test. And funnily enough, my memory was great, 100%. But my attention was not so good.
Oh, and I don't think we can blame muscles for that one. That's the condition of modern life, sadly.
I know. So it's really interesting. I was like, okay, the memory is working fine.
Yeah.
I'd just done my strength training session, but the attention thing, I mean, I would say I couldn't keep focus on the two things they needed me to focus on.
Yeah. I remember years ago when Spartan Race was a thing. Do you remember when Spartan Race was very big? And I was doing the long version ones. And I remember one of the obstacles was they would give you a word and you had to remember it at the end of the race.
No.
So, yes. And everyone had a different, or was it a word or a series of numbers? Anyway.
That would be hard.
Claudia, if you're listening, you were with me there. It's something difficult to remember. The word would be too easy.
Yeah.
I think it was a series of numbers. And it's like you had to remember them in the order they were in. And then there was just a guy at let's say kilometer 20 or something.
Oh my God.
With your race number and your thing. Yeah. And he would just have you recite it. And if you couldn't do it, drop and give me 35 burpees. Wow. And because they were trying to incorporate memory as part of, and especially memory under demand, right? With exertion and stuff.
When you're younger, okay, now we've all got mobile phones, we don't actually remember numbers. But we had to remember.
I remember my parents' phone number.
So do I. Yeah. I remember my auntie's phone number because
that's called to complain about your friends. my emergency number. Yeah, but that stuff you don't do. It's true. We don't exercise that muscle as much anymore.
No. And it's important to, do that as well as muscle training as well.
I actually use old mobile phone numbers as, PIN codes.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, well, no one else is going to know this. No one's going to use it. We don't use it anymore, but I still remember.
I remember. Yeah, because I know I'll find it. Yeah. Well, so speaking of muscles that we need to exercise, another one of the pillars of lifestyle medicine that I think gets kind of overlooked in the glamour of the others is stress management.
Oh, yeah.
And I cannot tell you enough when I'm working with patients or clients and I say, hey, we really do need to work on your stress management. I mean, this is clearly your coping mechanisms are, directly related to food and alcohol. We got to work on this. And I get the eye roll. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like when my kids grow up and I quit my job, maybe I'll work on stress management. Or what, do you want me to meditate? There's definitely, I feel like that one kind of gets swept under the rug as least important. Can you talk about how that is important and some strategies that women can use to manage their stress?
Absolutely. I mean, modern life is full of stresses. It's not something we can just, unless we move to a desert island.
Contemplated it.
Yeah.
Depends. What are you going to take with you?
Yeah, not the kids. Those are aunties. Love to cook.
But as women, most of the women that I see, they're at the peak of their career if they're working or they're working towards a big project. They are looking after their children. They are looking after parents who are elderly, and they often come last. The women are the caregivers and they're constantly giving. And when your bucket is empty, when you are dealing with a lot of stress, it has an impact on your health. So for me, I have the luxury of time with patients. I actively listen and allow them to reflect and allow them to see how, despite all the good things they're doing, how stress is actually sabotaging a lot of their good efforts. And we try and work on their why. What's important to them? What is in their circle of control? If leaving your job right now is not possible, well, what else can you do to minimize that stress? What are some of the actions you can take? For some women, that might look like, saying no, setting up boundaries to certain things. For others, it might be how they respond to stress, using things like mindfulness-based stress reduction mechanisms, strategies, mindfulness, meditations. For others, it might be a walk in nature to build up that resilience to cope with stress. So it's very personalized, but it is highlighting to people that stress isn't just an inert thing. It does affect your health and it can be sabotaging some of the good work that you're doing. And if you don't deal with it, it's not going to go away.
I love my walk with my dog. In the evening we go out, I put a podcast on, usually the Forties Formula, sometimes Huberman or, But, I feel like it's my time to sort of get out there and just feel at ease and sort of get away from the chaos that's my house with the 3 boys.
Yes.
I mean, I take one little boy with me,
Yeah.
as in the dog.
Yeah.
But one of the other things that I love, and I feel like is a bit underrated, is when I'm doing like the school drop off, it is so intense because I'm like, kids, we've got to get out of the house. We've got your shoes. Like seriously, we've forgotten shoes before because they'll just jump in the car and they haven't got their shoes on. And my kids are, old enough to learn to shoes.
Yeah, to know that they need shoes.
And once I drop them off and like I don't even get out of the car now, I'm like, get out, just leave the boot open, I'll close it myself. You just get out.
Yeah.
I love to get in the car, play my music and sing. Not that I can sing, but sing,
And can you demonstrate? He still goes,
do we want to lose fun? Like listeners. But, and it's my way of just releasing it. And I'm like, you don't have to, go through a whole meditation technique. It's whatever you find calming and a great way to sort of just feel at ease and, get those buggers off to school.
and you're a sit and scream it out type gal, and I like that. I'm a sit in silence person. So when I'm experiencing overstimulation, which is with my 3 kids always, by the way, I just need to be in silence. Just no one touching me, no one talking to me. And I mean, 5 minutes. It's not even like a whole big deal. And sometimes I would meditate, but often I don't.
Yeah.
Like I just, I consider it like my DNS time. Like I just lay on my back, put my feet against the wall, and I just luxuriate in silence.
I don't know if I could do that. I've tried, but I can't do it.
It's wonderful. Set a timer.
I'll try it.
I always set a timer, which is how you know I don't really relax, right? But yeah, I mean, again, whatever it may be.
Very different.
Yeah.
It's finding something. Sometimes I find people overstimulate themselves without realizing.
And then wonder why they're freaking out. And it's like,
Exactly. So sometimes you really do need to just take a step back and say, is what I'm doing, serving me well, or is it not?
Yeah.
Do I need to just change things up a little bit?
Yes. But what you're describing, right, like the school drop off and the chaos. And then I know so many women who go straight from that into like high intensity interval training class.
Yeah.
And they're rushing to get to class because they're barely going to make it. They show up all they're flustered. Then they have to go do 45 seconds of 90% heart rate activity. It's like, have you considered not doing that at that time, and maybe like do your HIIT on a Saturday morning when things be chill.
Yeah, when someone else,
and maybe
your husband can flop the
some slow and steady strength training in that pocket of time. But it's like even the things that are correct, like I don't want to take that HIIT away from you if that's something you love, but like maybe that's not the slot for it if it's affecting another pillar. And I think you said it really well. They're synergistic pillars. Yeah. One feeds into the next. They are not isolated pillars with space in between. It's more like I feel like pillar. We need a new word for pillars. Like it's got to be like merry-go-round of health or something. Chain reaction of lifestyle medicine.
Yeah, because you're right. When you think of pillars, you're like, boom.
Yeah, they're distinct and separate.
They're not.
Yeah.
And
if one falls, the other will hold it up. And it's like, but like, you can't let one fall. Like this in this case, like one. Okay, so let's talk about one that falls.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the wine coping strategy that I alluded to earlier. So again, this is interrelated with stress and also with nutrition is alcohol. And girl, we've had Dr. Fung on from Oslo Health talking about alcohol at length. So I'm not looking for a whole metabolic dissertation on alcohol. But how bad is it really? Right? You mentioned reducing exposure to risky substances. Talk to us about alcohol as that substance.
Yeah.
What are we looking at? What are the trade-offs?
Okay. WHO say there is no safe limit for alcohol. Here in Singapore, the guidelines are 2 drinks for men per day, 1 drink for women per day. We all have different alcohol tolerances. Sure. What I notice, especially in the 40s, women notice that they just don't metabolize alcohol as well. They just don't.
If you don't notice that, I feel like you have to be lying, right? No, I mean honestly, like raging in my 20s would put you in a coffin today. So.
And although alcohol may put you to sleep, it actually disrupts your sleep.
I had wine yesterday. I was up at 4 a.m. I was like, fuck me.
Like they kind of like.
I don't know. I was just wide awake. And I thought, oh man. I didn't even realize how much I was drinking because I thought I was having 1 glass. What I didn't realize was the waiter kept coming and topping up my glass. And then would ask my husband, do you want more? And I was like, hold on. Why is my glass still so full?
So full.
Yeah. And then I realized that he was just pouring it in. And my husband goes, well, it looks like I'm drunk.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. You got the 4 a.m. wake up. Never a good sign of like quality sleep.
So alcohol, when we're going through perimenopause, it actually can make your symptoms much worse, your hot flushes, your mood changes, and it increases your insulin resistance as well. So it can have these metabolic consequences. Not only is it extra calories, and depending what you're drinking as well, often cocktails are loaded full of sugar as well.
Rough combo.
So and that disruption of sleep and the dampening of mood as well. So many negative effects from alcohol, plus it is a carcinogen. It does increase your risk of cancer as well.
I had a client who was like, right, okay, I've stopped drinking, but then, every time I go out, sometimes I need a cigarette. And if that person wasn't smoking, then wanted chocolate or something else. He's like, I need a vice.
Yeah.
How does somebody who needs something bad to do as a coping strategy, how can they move forward? Like, do they really need a vice, or can they pick up something that's not so bad?
I mean, this is really difficult. This is, we're talking about people using these methods as a coping strategy. And it's stepping back and saying, well, why do you need a coping strategy? What is it that you're trying to cope with? And looking at that first of all. And then working with a practitioner to help them reduce their smoking or drinking and finding other ways to manage their coping. This takes a lot more work. It's understanding, why do you want to change, and what is it you need to change, and then small steps making those changes.
For me, I feel like my vice is coffee.
Not a vice. That's health care. Mental health care. Okay, 101.
At least my vice
It's
is
the timing of coffee. Not so much.
Yeah, you're right.
You, exactly. Coffee,
It's
taken
the
at the right
timing and the
time.
amount.
I don't drink after 12. So, I feel like that's pretty decent.
That's great.
Sometimes I might sneak in before 1. Generally, it's 12.
Yeah. And I was just listening to my buddy, Dr. Mike Israetel.
Love him.
Are you familiar with Dr. Mike?
He's
his
more
surname?
Israetel.
No,
So
I don't
he's
know him.
he's PhD, not
Correct.
not a physician.
Not medical doctor. Definitely not medical doctor. This dude is jacked on anabolic steroids, and that's kind of part of his trope is like he talks about his life on steroids and whatever. But he has a company called RP Strength. Free shout out. And anywho, he was just on Dr. Gabrielle Lyon's podcast talking about caffeine.
Yes.
And one of the things that I think is important to hear, you're hearing me defend my vice, by the way. So this is why we're having this conversation. Yeah, is because just like there's differences in how we metabolize alcohol, there's differences in how we metabolize caffeine. And you kind of know it if you're being honest with yourself. You know if you have that first cup of coffee in the morning and it just kind of gets you going, on with the day. Or if you get up and you're jittery and you're like, okay, now we're ready. Probably you're not a superb caffeine metabolizer. Probably you should definitely limit to that amount or less and that timing or less. And again, I'm not saying that you should use caffeine if you're a great metabolizer, but there are differences that if you're tuned in, you can kind of tell if it's moving you toward your goals.
I've never gotten the shakes. Actually, no, I tell you, I think I've gotten the shakes once, but generally I'm okay with coffee.
Oh, my dear husband. Oh my gosh. It's like it kills him, that first cup. Let's put it out there. He's in the restroom within a second. Oh, no. And then he's like shaky the rest. I was like, maybe not that for you. Maybe not
Breakfast first.
Yeah. Oh, man. All right. So this is the next section of our show where we love to do this kind of fun, hot or hype. Meaning we're going to give you a hot topic in health and you tell us if you think it's hot, like, there's data behind that, it rocks, or if you think it's hype. And then you can tell us why. Okay. So you're not limited to a one-word answer or anything like that. All right. Perimenopause supplements.
Hype.
Why?
I think there's been too much marketing, I'm afraid, with perimenopause supplements. Supplements are not governed by any body. We don't know what's inside them. And I just fear that women go for these supplements without actually getting the real help they need.
It's peri-washing, is it? Is that what it's called?
Or is hairy washing? Is that one of the new?
I think there's a term. It's like peri-washing. You know, like how there's the pink washing.
Green washing.
Pink washing. Yeah. But there's, I think there is a specific term for it where they're just marketing everything as
Menomarketing.
Maybe
I like that.
I think it might be menomarketing. I think you're right. But it's like, it says this is for perimenopause, but actually it's just vitamin D.
And I'm not against supplements. I think some women definitely need them. But it's a supplement to supplement everything else you're doing.
Yes.
And making sure you monitor, get a blood test first, find out what is deficient, and talk to a practitioner who is menopause aware and has the qualifications to guide you.
Yes.
It may be those supplements are actually doing more harm than good. There are some supplements where we actually need to watch liver function. They may interact with your medication. So, of course, when women are vulnerable, they will go and when they're desperate to get some help, they will go and purchase these products. So I just, a caveat, just be careful what you're buying.
Yes.
And do talk to a practitioner first if you're really unsure. There are some supplements that do wonderful things, definitely, that I advocate for. But
Yeah.
See what you need.
I'm with you. One of the things that drives me crazy about the supplement industry is how much money it takes from people, meaning it forces they redirect resources that they should be spending on other aspects of their healthcare into these supplements that don't do what they think it's doing. I won't call it out, but there's a very popular greens-based supplement that people love. And one of the things I always hear is like, oh, before then, I can never get a good bowel movement. Like, it really helps me go to the bathroom. And I was like, it's fiber. So it's not that greens powder is not magic. It's a fiber supplement, and it's very expensive. You can get a fiber supplement a lot cheaper. It's veggies. Eat those.
And people think, oh, it's a supplement, it's not a medicine, so it's good.
It's good for you. Yeah, it's a good. Yeah, it's like anyway. All right, next one, and this alludes to our previous conversation: red wine as heart healthy. Hot or hype?
Hype.
Really?
Yes.
But the resveratrol. But that's why, right?
So, Amanda, you know how I've been on this journey about improving my sleep?
Oh, you have been obsessed about it lately.
Well, I have found something that has been incredible. Cozy Earth bed sheets.
Ooh, that's saying a lot because you are really picky about your sleep setup.
Exactly. These sheets are made from bamboo viscose. They are naturally breathable and I get the perfect night's sleep. They keep me cool all night.
Oh, and I've been eyeing the pajamas too. They are so chic and super cozy.
It's a total game changer and so relaxing for the evenings.
And what's crazy is that Cozy Earth actually ships to Singapore. Orders over $560 ship free. And in the US, orders over $50 ship free.
And did you know you can get your biggest ever discount, 41%, if you use code TFF today?
So head over to cozyearth.com and use that code TFF today.
So many other things you could do for your heart health.
Yes.
Is what my answer would be. If you choose to drink, fine, just be mindful of it. But I wouldn't be drinking red wine just for your heart health. There's so many other things you can do for your heart health that have amazing benefits. So, for me, it's more a hype. Yes, the resveratrol, but people say you can get that from eating grapes. So
Yeah, I mean that's where it comes from in the wine. You should not come with the ethanol, by the way. So that's not what's giving you the nutrients. All right, BMI as a reliable indicator of my health. Hot or hype?
it is a hype, big time.
Thank God.
We spoke about body composition, and I'm afraid BMI doesn't take that into account.
Right.
It is what all the studies are based on.
Because it's easy.
Because it's easy, quick
calculate.
to measure. But it does not reflect, your weight does not reflect what your lean body mass is, what your fat mass is, and where that fat mass is as well. So definitely hype. We should be doing body composition.
Is it different here in Asia? I'm wondering, is the BMI standard all globally? Or
No, there was an Asian BMI.
There is an Asian BMI.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So the Asian BMI scale is
Yeah.
lower thresholds for overweight
Yeah.
and then for obesity as well.
Yeah, damn, I'm probably in the B.
Yeah. So
I don't want to be
overweight for Asian is 23.1.
No.
For Caucasian is 25.
Okay. Yeah.
Obese for Asian is 27.1. For Caucasians 30.
Where do I fall under? Am I Asian or am I Caucasian? I mean, I'm not Caucasian, but I
Yeah.
don't know,
That's a really
because my body type's a bit different. It's not Asian.
Yeah, it's not traditionally East Asian, that's a question for Tyler.
That is a good question.
Do you
Also
guys use
mixed
BMI at
race
all?
children as well.
Yes,
My kids
exactly.
are mixed race. I'm like,
my kids are a perfect example. Yeah, I think they split the difference, right? So it's like somewhere around 24. I don't know.
Pretty much, yeah.
But again, this is why BMI is not helpful for the majority of us.
That's right.
And just for those listening that aren't familiar with that term, it's body mass index, and it refers simply to a ratio of your height to weight. So I love when folks come in and they have some weight loss with us and they say, my BMI went down. And I was like, no, yes, because that's what weight loss is. It's less weight on your height. Like your BMI will always track with your weight. That's all it is.
And there are some women and men that are skinny fat.
Yeah.
So they're
in
being
the Indian like
Yes.
culture,
Yeah.
that's a big thing.
Yes.
Like, they might look skinny,
Yeah.
but where's the muscle mass?
That's
and then
right.
what's going on?
Yeah, and here in Singapore, I think a study recently released on Chinese ethnic women who are young, who look slim, but their muscle mass is really
Non-existent.
reduced,
We see it every
puts
day.
them at risk.
Every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. And stunned to find out that that's like they're so. We had a patient earlier this week. Came in 47.5 kgs on the scale, which, for my American listeners, it's very small. It's very, very small. By any standard, whatever height, it's still very small. And she was overjoyed by it. But then we demonstrated to her that her appendicular lean mass index was 5.1. And again, for doctors listening, you're about to fall out your chair. For lay people listening, it means that she's severely undermuscled, almost at the threshold of sarcopenia, and in her 40s.
Yeah.
And body fat 36.7%. Above what would be considered the healthy range. And with that muscularity problem, I mean, this is a really metabolically deficient body composition.
That's right.
But we couldn't talk her through it because she saw that 47.5 on the scale. She was like, but I'm doing great, right? I was like,
Not quite.
no. But yeah, I mean, that weight is not an overweight weight, if that's what you're asking.
That's basically the sort of thing that leads to insulin resistance, diabetes.
Yes.
Hugely.
And osteopenia and osteoporosis. I mean, that's a recipe for it right there, is the light body weight with the undermuscling. But so get your bones strong, get your muscles up. All right. So another hotter hype. And this one, Dr. Sundus, you might break our hearts.
Yeah.
Okay. Stress scores, recovery scores, body battery reads from our smartwatches.
Constantly.
Hotter hype.
It's a tricky one. It depends how you interpret data.
Okay. Tell us more.
I would say hot,
Okay.
but only if you don't get obsessive about your data. So for some, this is amazing to have those scores because it can really help you get in tune with your body and realize, okay, this today is a good day for training. Today I need some recovery time. But for some, it can be quite an obsessive thing to look at your scores, and that can be very stressful. It can add to your stress. It would be ideal if we can tune in and learn without these devices.
How did I sleep today? Let me look at my watch.
Yeah.
Like, not how am I feeling? Do I feel rested?
What time will I go to bed? So maybe that'll help.
But yeah, I totally get that because, I mean, to be honest, I do get a little bit obsessive. I do love to track my sleep and all of that stuff. I don't know, you'll see that on my stories every now and again. But I do listen to my body. Like sometimes I'll look at my watch and it'll say you had a shit sleep. I feel great. I'm going to ignore that and just pretend it was, maybe that late dinner I had because I was out with some friends or whatever it is. But generally, I will go by how I'm feeling. But I do like to show to my husband, look how I sleep.
Yeah, look how recovered I am. And back to that example about the mom going from the school pickup to the HIT class. Yeah. So let's say you wake up with a recovery score crap, your sleep was crap, and on your schedule today is drop off the kids, go to this class. Maybe you could pick a different class today because it's not going to help your recovery to go into another super high heart rate bout of exercise. Perhaps today would be the day to kick back with a walk in nature, maybe do some low intensity zone 2. So it help you formulate a better program, I think. But you're right. I think on the flip side of that, you wake up, your sleep's crap, your recovery's crap. You're like, well, I'm skipping the gym. And that's the more honest response, I think, for most people. It's like, well, I'm not recovered, can't do anything.
What's more important then? So exactly using that example, you slept crap, but you've got a class booked. What's more important there? What would you say to somebody who is like, right, okay, we're looking at the lifestyle pillars, even though they're not pillars, but, do I go with my movement, which obviously is important? Do I go with my sleep, which is also important? Like, how much weight do you give to each thing, each pillar?
Ideally equally.
Damn it.
But it really depends on the patient sitting in front of me. Which pillar is important to them? Which one is actually, are they ready to make some changes in? I can easily say to you, you need to strength train. But if you are so stressed, you're sleep deprived, you can't get to the gym, okay, we need to work on those first. So it's where are people ready to start making some changes? Of course, as a physician, I can guide them and say, look, we're not going to be able to do this if we don't do this, but are you ready to make changes in this area? So in this example, they're sleep deprived, but they've got a class. Is that class actually going to benefit them in that moment in time? Great, physical activity is wonderful, but is it just going to add more to their stress? Is it going to add more to their mood that's already down? Exercise, on the other hand, is helpful if you do it earlier in the morning than at night. So maybe choose a class that's less intensive, as we said. Maybe go for a walk instead. If it really is your only chance to do that class, and it's strength training,
Skip the spin, go for the strength.
then go for it. Maybe don't push yourself as much as you normally would, but do push yourself, and then think about, okay, I'm going to have an earlier bedtime.
9 p.m. New bedtime, everybody.
9 p.m. Girl, I wish that. I hope that day is upon me soon, but it ain't there yet.
It's always been upon me. I can't, 9 o'clock, I'm yawning away, ready for bed.
Our last hot or hype, and this kind of circles us back to the first question about supplements.
Okay.
Iron infusions if you have demonstrated low ferritin.
Hot. Definitely. If you can take iron orally and it's absorbed orally, then absolutely. But if there's issues absorbing it orally or side effects absorbing it orally, then an iron infusion can be really helpful for women. We know a lot of women do have heavier bleeds during perimenopause, and that can really affect their iron level. And so we need to top that up and then obviously work on the root cause of why they're iron deficient.
Absolutely. And I think, for the listener out there right now in her 40s, taking diligent notes on this episode, but now she's feeling completely overwhelmed. Okay. There's 6 pillars I got to think about. There's BMI stuff. There's something with my lean mass. What are the 2 things that she can do this week to start improving her health for perimenopause?
Yes, women do get overwhelmed. And when I see them and go through a lifestyle medicine consultation, it's like, oh, goodness, I've got to change this. And I'm like, no, we're going to do it one step at a time. As I said before, what's important to you? What's your health goal? Where are you in your health journey right now? Let's pick 1 pillar, 2 pillars. Let's pick 1 change or 2 changes. What are you ready to make? And let's start making those changes. Let's make sure they're sustainable, they're consistent, so they become a daily habit. So it's really hard for me to say 2 things. But I would say in perimenopause, in your 40s, definitely strength training if you aren't doing already, and start small. Start by doing some body weight exercises, use some resistance band, carry your shopping. Start small and then build up. And the second one would be probably, I'd say, sleep, because most of us are not getting enough sleep and not working on our sleep. That will help improve your mood, improves your weight as well. All our hormones are, appetite and satiety hormones are released during that time. It will improve our cognition and also our stress management. We become more resilient to stress as well if we can prioritize that.
I do think, though, if you are strength training and you get decent sleep, I feel like you're naturally going to make better choices with your food. Because you're going to be thinking look, I'm working out now. I should probably do something better with my food choices. And when it comes to sleep, you're not going to just reach for, the quick and easy processed snack that's just, there, and you've actually got that patience and that time to really sort of think, right, okay, now I'm fully energized. I will make a nice meal, or I will go for the unprocessed option, and I will get my fiber in and I'll get my protein in. And I think you're not thinking, what's quick, what's easy. You've actually got that capability to make the better choice.
Yeah, it really buffers you. And people who are sleep deprived do unconsciously eat more calories.
Yes, absolutely.
And make not as healthy choices.
There's so many studies out there. You will choose more carbohydrate-heavy foods. You will choose more sugar-rich foods. You will choose more processed foods. All the things you said in that very first thing about the type of diet that will help you is not what you choose when you're sleep deprived. And that's the sad truth.
That's right.
Well, again, you've given us so much to think about today, and we really appreciate your expertise in this area. But I would love to know, personally from you, for women in their 40s, What's your 40s formula? How would you give women advice to thrive in this decade?
So what I would say is, while you're navigating perimenopause and menopause, see it as an opportunity to look at your health, your holistic health overall. Yes, absolutely get some help with your symptoms and improve your quality of life, but look at the bigger picture. Think about those long-term health risks that are silent, that you may not feel. Educate yourself about them, get tested, know what your risks are for them. And there is plenty you can do out there to minimize those risks. Look at those 6 pillars or 6 cogs of health and see what is important to you right now. Where are you ready to make some changes that will be sustainable? And think about what kind of life would you like to have in your last, 10 years of your life? Women are living till into their 80s, 90s. We want to remain well and healthy and do the things we enjoy and love, and be independent for as long as possible. So that would be my message to women.
I love that. Think about who you want to be in the future and work toward that, right? Start today.
Exactly. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is like rainy day in London.
London.
That's the thing I just made up.
I don't know it.
That's what I made up.
This is how it would be, yeah. Dark.